Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Monday morning. Glad you're here on this day because it's obviously Labor Day, but we're here live in the studio. A first-time guest in the studio here. We'll talk about Friday Night Football, Derek Carr, Aaron Judge, Paul George. It's kind of like a World of Sports Day right here on Connect with me. As a matter of fact, Connect with me starts right now.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
With me on MeTV Fresno, you're watching us live, and the telephone number is 436-MeTV option 11 if you want to call in and weigh in on today's program. We normally do on the air, off the presses, but it's kind of a combination show today because we have a media person in the house today. He's a first-time guest, but he'll be talking about the world of sports, a very interesting program because we're talking about three, I guess you could call them superstars. I mean, they got to be superstars, and they're out of Fresno State. We'll also talk about high school football, but for now, you're watching us live on Comcast Channel 375 as usual. It's Comcast Cable TV, but if you do not have Xfinity, it's not a problem. Don't lose sleep over it. You can watch us over the air broadcast with a digital outdoor antenna where you can get up to 100 free TV channels. It's 43.6 and 13.1 over the air. Then on the replay, it comes up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6 YouTube, 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. And if you'd like to check us out on YouTube, all the shows are up there the last 5.5 years. Well, for the most part, they are. All you have to do is go to youtube.com, hit the /MeTV Fresno, scroll down until you see the uploads icon there, and then click on that. And as easy as apple pie, you can watch just about any broadcast that you want on Connect with me if you can't watch this program live. Today we have a first-time guest. He is from ABC Channel 30, our local affiliate here. It's the ABC O&O, owned and operated, but of course by Disney. If you watch Friday Night Football, if you're into high school football, you know, in the state of Texas, we know what's going on with Hurricane Harvey and the recovery efforts, but in the state of Texas, each and every year, high school football is bigger, maybe bigger than the Dallas Cowboys, maybe bigger than the Houston Astros right now. It's huge. High school football, they live and die by high school football, as many of us do right here in the Central Valley. So on Friday nights at 11:15, 11:30, or on ABC Channel 30, you can watch Friday Night Football with Tommy Tran and Chris Alvarez. Here's a sneak peek of what you can see this coming Friday on ABC Channel 30. Check it out.
Hey guys, we're the Central Pep and Cheer Squad, and you're watching Friday Night Football with Tommy and Chris.
C30 Action News Friday Night Football. Sponsored by Me and Ed's Pizza. High school football scores and highlights from all over the Central Valley. With Tommy Tran and Chris Alvarez. Friday Night Football starts now.
Welcome to a championship edition of Friday Night Football. Hard to believe we started week 0 back in August and are already here at the section finals. We'll have you covered from top to bottom, including Chris Alvarez, who's live in Sanger with the Division 2 and 4 finals. But we begin at the very top. We'll eventually work our way down. The D1 finals saw the Central Grizzlies come into tonight's game, winners of 11 straight after a season-opening loss to Bullard. Grizzlies hosting Valley powerhouse Bakersfield. The Drillers arrived in Fresno looking to add to their state record 36 titles. So let's head out to Darren Kaligian Stadium. Central, they've played a lot of close games this year. Would that be a good thing or a bad thing? Well, here, Trent Tompkins to Malik White. The swing pass to the left, that's an 8-yard touchdown, so it's 7-0 second quarter on a chilly night in Northwest Fresno. Third quarter now 7-7 Drillers, that's the QB keeper. Josh Moran up the middle, 14-7 at that point, but ensuing drive, Javon Bigelow, 80 yards run up the middle. He would not be caught, breaking tackles, and we're tied at 14. Oh, but self-inflicted problems for Central. Trent Tompkins here under duress will throw a pick picked off by Taj Wright. And Bakersfield would capitalize. It would be Moran who played the entire second half. A play action to Navante Demonson, and boy, Central falls short on this night. 21-14, that's the Drillers extending that state record with their 37th Valley title after the big win. But here's Grizzlies head coach Kyle Biggs after the crushing loss.
Live in our studio right now is Tommy Tran. He is the sports director over at ABC Channel 30. He's a first-time guest here. He's been at Channel 30 for about 7 years. He's the sports director for the last 5. Him and Chris Alvarez host Friday Night Football, and this coming Friday will be the second installment of Friday Night Football of the season. It's one of the best programs on TV if you're into high school football, and if you want to get that widespread coverage throughout the entire Central Valley, certainly tune in to Channel 30 and watch their high school football highlight coverage. It is extensive and intense, and I'll tell you what, they probe, my friends. They probe. They do interviews, they do highlights. We'll talk to Tommy in just a moment. Also, I want to pass along that we're doing the broadcast today as usual from Ventura TV, and I've been asked to pass along. We're open till 4 o'clock on Labor Day. You can come in and browse and do whatever you want here and purchase whatever item. We have a sale going on until 4 o'clock today. So you're watching us on Comcast. You're watching us over the air broadcast, 436 MeTV option 11. Our first time guest is here. Call in, weigh in. Back in just a moment after this from Dr. Thomas Casagrande, 20/20 Optometrics out at Sean Blackstone. That guy's been out there more than 20 years. He's got more than 2,000 frames to choose from, including these babies right here. Back in just a moment.
Want to create something extraordinary? Create perfection. Our lifestyle appliances make it easy. KitchenAid, Ventura TV appliance, and you, when only the best will do.
At 20/20 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 20/20 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today. All right, back here on the program with Tommy Tran, ABC Channel 30. Welcome to the program, my friend. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I know. John, thanks so much for having me on your program, and I'm happy to be here on Labor Day, too. And everybody watching at home, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, well, thank you. I know you're going to be working late tonight over at Channel 30, so this is kind of early, and I appreciate you taking the time, losing a little bit of sleep to come in here today and spend some time with us. Friday Night Football. I don't know how long I've been watching it on Channel 30, but anytime that I want to see who won, like I used to work in Sanger, so I'm partial to Sanger High School football. He's a Chuck Shadan.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of mine, and now that my daughter goes to Bullard, my son goes to Edison, I'm kind of watching what they're doing, and I'm looking at the ratings. How difficult is it with all of the high school games going on Friday night to put a show like that together?
It is a challenge, but it's a challenge that I like to really embrace and take head on. You know, we have roughly 105 high schools in our viewing area, so it makes it difficult in every week. So we have about a 20-minute show that we produce weekly.
It's 11:15 or 11:30.
It's 11:15 to about 11:35, and so you've got about 20 minutes. We've got commercials in between, but roughly 20 minutes. And so I would always tell people, no matter if we had 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or even an hour, we're not going to be able to get to everywhere in the Central Valley. But what we do is we try to put a comprehensive show together, which would be the best games of the night, and then still let you know at the bottom of our screen with our ticker and our crawl to let you know of all the scores. So at least you know what's going on, who won between who. So that has worked out for us well. I've been doing it for 5 years, and Chris Alvarez is our other sports anchor who's joined me for the past 3, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. One of the things that I did in my past life is I was a sportscaster, like probably in the Stone Age, what it seems like to me now. But one of the problems was always getting, rushing around the last minute. Are they going to call in? You know, Bullard is playing Edison. Gosh, we don't have a score yet. Do you ever go through that?
I went through that, early on as a journalist. So when I got into the business 12 years ago, that was still the case. Thankfully, technology has really helped that out a little bit. Twitter has helped a lot in terms of trying to find scores. So we have our producers and our assignment editors in our newsroom, scouring the internet to try to find those scores. So that helped out a lot. We still get calls. People call in, or now they kind of tweet at us, and they kind of at us, as they say in Twitter, to let us know what's going on. So that has gotten a little bit easier. Gone are the days where you have to really depend on those phone calls or call your head coaches that or assistant coaches to get those scores. Because the last thing you want to do is to go into a show and not have a handful of scores that people depend on you to have. And so that's always a challenge, even with the social media age. But thankfully, that's helped us out a little bit in trying to get that completed.
How big a help is Twitter to you?
It's been immense. We rely a lot on our viewers, just like we would in any situation, whether it's in the news portion of the industry or weather. We can't be everywhere. And so if we have someone, for instance, at a big game, and you mentioned, I'll just say now, Bullard versus Edison, perhaps, right? And so we're there for the first half, shooting highlights. We get some great highlights, but the game comes down to one final play. Well, obviously, we're not going to be there. We've got to get back to the station and put together some highlights. If there's a fan, a parent, a coach shooting it on their phone nowadays, and they get that last play, all they need to do is upload it and put at Tommy Tran TV or at Chris ABC 30. We're able to use that, and boy, we can put that in the show and have that final play in our Friday Night Football show and really give people a sense of how that game went and who won and who lost.
All right, if somebody is out there watching now, I mean, a lot of older folks watch this show because of these older shows on MeTV, but if they have grandkids, nephews, nieces, so they want to text that video of the winning touchdown between Bullard and Edison, how late can they text you that video? Because your show airs at 11:15.
Sure.
How much time do you have?
Well, if it is something like Twitter, we can almost get it in within 5 minutes.
Okay.
Because we have the means now to pull up a tweet and route it to the screen that we can show. Now, if it's something where they're just like, if they're texting it to, you mentioned their children or their grandchildren and then sending it to us, it's a little bit longer. So we would probably by 11 o'clock the latest. So that's about a 15-minute heads up. But we would be able to try to get that up as soon as we can if that video was available.
And
John.
where do they text it again? If they we know Twitter, they can put it on Twitter. But if they want to text you, is there like a Channel 30 text line that they can use?
Generally, I think if they've got that option with their phone, usually the email works best. If it's KFSN, which are our call letters, I know a lot of people know us as ABC 30, but our call letters are KFSN. Desk at abc.com.
Say that again.
KFSN and then a desk, DESK, all one word, at abc.com.
Okay, so you can email the Friday Night Video. If you have any kids, grandkids, 436-MeTV option 11 is this number, but you can email that video, and you got about a 15-minute window. And I'm looking at Sunday's paper, I'm looking at Thursday's paper, actually cut out some articles here and looking at some of the rankings. Do you guys rank the teams? Because I see they got Bakersfield here ranked number 1. Buchanan is 4, Clovis West 5, Clovis 6. Sanger is number 8, Edison 9, although Edison is 0-2. So do you have rankings?
We don't have rankings at Channel 30.
Okay.
I participate in some that ask for my input on what which team should be where, and then it's a comprehensive list. Generally, just like to follow the teams, and then for our show, just sort of put out some of the storylines and stuff. But polls are something that we don't usually tackle as often.
Okay. Now give us a little background on yourself too, because I want to get a sense for how big high school football is in this area. You worked in Arizona before, prior to this, coming to ABC Channel 30. How big, and you know how big high school football is in Texas. Is it comparable to what we have here in the Valley? Over 100 high schools here. Is it even worth comparing Texas?
I do think so. I mean, the talent from our state here in California is right there with Florida and Texas. The love for football, and I'll just give you an example, and I think a lot of your viewers will relate, right? So a lot of times when people talk about Fresno State, and I'm sort of jumping off from high school, but this is the point I'm trying to make here. When it comes to the Fresno State teams, which one would you say fans care the most that particular team has players that come from our viewing area that are local boys? or local, athletes. Football, right? The Fresno State football team, are some of the guys local? Well, a lot of it has to do because of the love that they have at the high school level. And so, I grew up in the Bay Area, big market where obviously you got, several dozens of high school teams, more than 105 that we have here in the Central Valley. Then I worked in Yuma, Arizona, where there were only 32 schools that we had to worry about. And then I come here, and it's right in the middle. It's that small town feel where everyone gets up for games, especially in the rural areas. You mentioned Sanger, obviously one of the best venues with Tom Flores Stadium. And then you have 105 schools, all that are very passionate about their schools, and the fan bases are great. And so it's a big reason why not only we have a high school football show, but really everybody with all the other channels that we compete with also have a football show, because there's an appetite for it.
And that's the reason that show is on, is because there is an appetite for high school football, and a lot of it has to do with Fresno State. Am I right?
Yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand, and that's the thing, is that, especially this year, now we've seen with head coach Jeff Tedford, there are roughly 25 guys that are from the Central Valley. So either that Jeff Tedford recruited or brought back through a transfer, and so, that's almost about 1 out of every 4 players is a Central Valley player.
On that football team right now,
as constructed. Yes, they're not all playing. Some of them have to sit out at least a year. But if you look at the roster, roughly 25, and that's about 1 out of every 4.
Right. So some of these players are redshirt freshmen, right? So
redshirt freshmen or transfer, so they have to sit a full year. But some have been able to play right away. But again, that's more than what the previous regime has had on their roster.
Before I go to break, comments that you get from viewers about your Friday night football show.
People enjoy it. We do it up. We have a little bit of music. I don't know if you heard it from the clip, obviously.
Yeah.
We try to add some production value to it. So everyone is generally, I get compliments. Some of the complaints I get, of course, is, you don't cover our school.
Wow.
But I have an answer for that. We have a fan vote that we also do weekly. I put 3 games on Twitter and Facebook for people to vote. And a lot of times it's small schools against big schools. And you would think because the big schools have a bigger, obviously, student enrollment, that they would always win out. But I got to tell you what, John, a lot of times the Mendotas of the world, the Sangers, Madera, Parlier, they will beat out Clovis Unified Schools. And then, you know what? It's a democratic process. They vote, they win, boom, we're there.
I hate to go to break on a downer, but you know about the Kerman High School football coach
Yes.
that passed away, Anthony Taylor, on Friday, just suddenly, right before the Friday's game. Did you know him, and if so, how well?
Not well. So, again, through just our general coverage over the years, I was able to make it out to 3 Kerman games since Anthony Taylor was the head coach. What I always try to do, too, is when I go out to these games, I'm there a little bit early. I'm given about 30 minutes to check out the team. And what I always do is I try my best to talk to both head coaches. Hey, how you doing? How's the season going? What I also do on Twitter is I do what I call a F&F spotlight. And it's like, hey, can you tell me about a kid? Can you tell me about a kid that you think's doing well? I'd love to. What I do is I take a picture. I say, hey, for instance, Kerman's got a really good young quarterback. His name is Sean Chambers. This was back when he was a freshman. And Coach Taylor, I go, hey, Coach, who do you think I can feature? And he goes, hey, why don't you talk about this kid, Sean Chambers? He's a young player, but he's doing the right things, and he leads our team. Talk to Sean real quickly, take a picture before and post it. Coach Taylor was always great. We also have our Friday morning football segment that we've run for many years, and Kerman did that for us last year, and Coach Taylor was kind enough to get some of his players up early in the morning. It's a long day for them that way in terms of Friday morning football, especially if a coach is involved. On a Friday morning where you have a game. But he was always great. Really sad news to hear that passing. I know that he had some health problems over the summer. Actually had to step down earlier in August. And then, unfortunately, he passed away on Friday.
All right, and so our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of Anthony Taylor, the Kerman High School football coach who suddenly passed away. Tommy Tran is here from ABC Channel 30. Glad that you're there. And we have an open phone line if you want to call in at 436-MeTV, option 11. Back after this from Thomas Casagrande, 2020 Optometrics out at Shaw in Blackstone. More than 20 years in running now.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
All right, everybody, after a one-week break, it's time for QB&A with Raiders quarterback Derek Carr. And Derek, first off, I know you've taken to Twitter to let Raider Nation and the Red Wave know how you're doing, but really, for the first time on radio or TV, can you put in your own words how you're doing right now?
I'm doing really good. I just got done with my treatment and, doing all those things. I'm progressing along very nicely. No timetables or anything like that. I can just let you know it's going way better than we expected before I had the surgery. So I'm doing really well, and I'm just blessed. God has been good to me, and so I'm thankful for everybody out there that prayed for me, and looking forward to being back out in that jersey, man, as soon as possible.
I know throughout QB&A we've talked to you about a couple of other injuries in the process and all the information that you like to have. So can you take us through after the Colts game, and there was initial talk that you were going to have maybe surgery on Christmas Day, and then I got pushed to L.A. on Tuesday. Can you tell us a little bit how that all came together?
Yes, we were just looking, for, the best option. And
Back here in the program, that was Tommy Tran interviewing Derek Carr, the one and only, and he might be one of the most popular players around the nation right now. The quarterback for the Oakland Raiders, of course, honored at halftime, retired his number at the Fresno State game on Saturday. We'll get into more of that, but I want to talk about the mechanics of this. We have a caller that's waiting. Caller, I'll get to you in just a moment. The Derek Carr interview airs every
Tuesday.
Okay, at what time?
We have it at in the sports segment during the 6 o'clock newscast, which is roughly 6:20, and then we have a second one that happens at about 6:50. So between the two, they're about two-minute pieces, but with social media now in sort of podcast-like fashion, every week on our Facebook page and also my Twitter page, we put on the entire segment, which is about 7 to 10 minutes on a given week.
Wow. And so, hang on, caller. Be patient, please. So another question. So you tape this
Monday. So it's a bit like a Monday morning quarterback. And generally, the interview would actually air on Mondays, but because Fresno State traditionally has had their head coach and his press conference on Mondays, that sort of takes the cake. So what we do is we tape it on Monday, and then we air it on Tuesday for everyone to enjoy.
All right. Now, let me ask you this before I get to the caller, because you're going to chuckle at this. I've interviewed Derek Carr once, and that was when he was a senior at Fresno State. Such a pleasant guy, just so down to earth, and he was talking to the kids, and he gave me all the time that I needed with him. The only time I've ever talked to him, that was how many years ago now?
4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Is he still the same down to earth Derek Carr? That's part one of the question. Part two is, I think I could probably get through to Donald Trump easier than I could get through to Derek Carr. How is it that you land this interview every single week? Because, we're all Derek Carr fans.
Sure.
What's there not to like about Derek Carr? He's a great guy.
Yeah. Well, let me answer your first question. Yeah, Derek is still the same Derek that he's always been. Obviously, media savvy, says all the right things. I'll tell you a funny story. So, obviously, his ascension among Bay Area fans, Central Valley fans, and of course across the nation are getting to know Derek Carr through the years now. And our sister station in San Francisco got an interview with Derek one time. And they know that I have this segment with Derek now, and this will be going into our third year. And they go, "Hey, is Derek Carr for real? Is this guy who he really?" I said, "No, Derek Carr is what you get. This is exactly who he is on the field, off the field." And so those are some of the questions when someone comes to me and said, "Is this guy who he says he is, and who he projects himself to be?" And so, and to your second point, it's funny. I had no idea 3 years ago that we would be doing this segment, and to be honest, now that he's got his contract, I didn't know if he would be doing it this year to have that kind of time. But
is it a contractual thing with ABC?
It's a partnership that we have, and so we have a segment that between the two of us, and it's a segment that's sponsored by ECU in town, so they've gotten behind it. But
Yeah.
a few years ago, his management team gave me a call and said, hey, we are interested in putting something like this together, and we're not going to do it in the Bay Area. We want to do it in the Central Valley. Would you be up for it? And of course, we were thrilled to be able to do that. And so, I think my understanding from his team and from Derek is he appreciated the way that I covered him in college, the way I covered things with his draft day process, and even through his first year in the NFL. And when they wanted to do something, Channel 30 and with me was something that they really wanted to do, and we were happy to
Well, no
watch.
question, Derek Carr, one of the most likable guys you'll ever meet, as you are. So the two, they kind of fit, they go hand in hand. Two likable guys. One guy on Channel 30, the other guy plays for the Don't you wish you played for the Raiders too?
Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be right in my backyard. That
Be a
would have been fun
whiteout.
too. Yeah, I would like any catches from Derek. He's so good and accurate with those things.
Caller, you've been so patient. I really appreciate it. What's your question?
Yeah, Tommy, I'd like to know how do colleges scout their players, like if they're looking for a quarterback, receiver, whatever? Do they go to you, or do they have films where they look at the runners or whatever, and then they either call them or get information to the media? How do they go about? Because to find, there's so many talented players. How would they do that as far as a college, a big college or a small college, try to get a player to come to their school? That's all I want to know, Tommy. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
So if my understanding there was listening to the callers asking about the recruiting process and how players are found, is that right, John? Is that what we got there?
Pretty much.
So each university has a system that they entail. So the head coach obviously has his assistant head coaches, and each assistant is given a region or a district to recruit. So you will have, for instance, someone will recruit the Central Valley. You will have someone that recruits the Bay Area, someone that takes Southern California, and then depending on how the school wants to target other areas, they will send the other head coaches, and you have some coaches be a Texas guy or a Florida guy. And again, it depends on the budget, it depends on the coaching staff, and it depends on where they have connections. The caller will remember head coach Tim DeRuiter, prior stops in Texas. So when he was here, a lot of his influence, his players came from Texas. Now that we have Jeff Tedford, a former Bulldog, certainly we've seen more Central Valley, which we hinted at and talked about a few minutes ago. So, and then the ways that they get recruited, phone calls still work, interactions with head coaches still work, but now with social media as well, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube channels, and there's a service that they call Huddle Videos, where each player has now a chance to put their own video, and anyone can view it. Now it gets a little bit tougher to be discovered, because now you have so much inventory. There's a lot of supply, but if somehow you can get that through, no longer are the days where you have to send a tape or a CD or anything like that. If by
Just
pure
upload it to
connection
YouTube
you
or
can
Twitter.
upload it, share it via email or share it via text message, and a coach would be able to see it. So that's kind of how the process works. So it's easier to have your tape, your resume reel, per se, on a thing like that, but it is a little bit tougher to actually get through.
It's so sophisticated now. I was talking to a friend of mine. I got to go to break, but just talking about scouting in Major League Baseball, how that's become a business all by itself on the side. It's like it's almost as big as the major leagues itself. It's a separate entity, and it's become so sophisticated and so dialed in that basically the good teams know how to scout, and that's really the key to success. In a lot of cases, you still have to have the talent.
Right.
But I would imagine college recruiting is the same thing. It's sophisticated. It's up to date with the technology.
It's big time business. And so these college recruiters now will look to these services, which will then, they've now monetized on being able to take some of these videos from college students, put it on a platform that can be found almost like a headhunter for job searching, for instance.
Like in broadcasting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, or in really any field. And so now that the players, they know where to upload, they know where to go, now it groups into this one big pot. And if you're a coach, you go to this one pot to try to find out you can find the gold.
That's amazing. Hey, before I go to break, Carrie, let's roll the second part of that. QB&A Derek Carr, and then we'll go to break. This is Tommy Tran interviewing Derek Carr, the Raiders quarterback, every Tuesday on Channel 30 at 6 o'clock during the news. Next week will be the first time, for the first time this season, it'll be after the first game of the season. Not tomorrow, but next Tuesday. Let's roll it. QB&A, Derek Carr.
All right, welcome to QB&A, and this is a really unprecedented edition because for the first time since 2002 and for the first time since we've had QB&A, the Raiders are going to the playoffs. Repeat it with me, everybody. The Raiders are going to the playoffs, led by Derek Carr once again. Let's just talk about that win. First of all, what was the locker room like when you guys were able to celebrate your first playoff run, especially since you were joining the team 3 years ago?
Man, it was electric. You know, everyone was so excited. You know, I think the coolest thing was to see all of our trainers, you know, all of our equipment guys, you know, all the doctors that, you know, have been around this organization for such a long time. You know, the joy on their face, I think, was the coolest part. You know, I think that, you know, a couple of them came up to me and hugged me and said, "Thank you so much. You don't understand how much this means." And, you know, I thought that was pretty cool, you know, that, you know, they've been suffering for quite a long time, and it was cool to see them so happy.
Derek, you've been with the team now 3 seasons. You're 25. I mean, the last time the Raiders made it to the playoffs, I think you were about 11. Do you even remember what you were doing Christmas week at age 11?
I don't even have a clue what I was doing. I know I was in Bakersfield, and I do know I remember watching, you know, Seawood hit Tom Brady, you know, in the snow. I do remember that, but I have no clue what I was doing. You know, I just remember I was in elementary school, so it's been a while.
During review times, it's almost like a mini timeout. Are you focused on the play? Are you working on the next play? What's going through your mind and your process as these reviews take place?
Yeah. Really, both situations. You know, hey, if we get the first down, this is what we're going to do. If not, this is what we're going to do also. And, you know, I'm prepared for both and talking through both situations. And it was such a long break, you know, in between. Once we did that, I went back to the huddle, and we actually all sat there and watched it up on the screen. And, you know, we're like, man, that's a first down. You know, I don't even know why it's taking this long. And, you know, they obviously had to see where the foot was and where the ball went out and all those things. But, yeah, you know, we all sat there and we're just kind of trying to figure it out. But we definitely had both plays ready and for that situation.
Not sure what you're watching? Want to see what's coming up next? Or just want to browse what's on without the hassle of flipping channels? Your wish has come true. Now you can view schedules for all the digital TV channels available in the Central Valley. Get local weather updates and forecasts, and listen to nationally syndicated Biz Talk Radio, all on KVHF 4.1. Rescan your TV now, then tune in to Digital Channel 4.1 to start enjoying the all-new TV Guide.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today. Back here with Tommy Tran, the one and only ABC Channel 30. And before I get to the call, I do want to roll the videotape. It's called Raiders. We'll talk over it. It's got no sound on it. I want to talk about Derek Carr because he broke his ankle last year against Indianapolis on Christmas Eve, no less. The game was played in Oakland. This is going to be his 4th year in the NFL. There's Derek Carr throwing to Crabtree, I believe. Mm-hmm. They start off with Tennessee next week. By the way, you going to the game?
I will not be at the game. I'll be watching like everybody else, of course, taking notes and getting things ready for my QB&A with Derek the next day.
Talk about his athletic ability. Is he and I know you probably have gotten this question, maybe you've asked this question yourself on the air, is he better than his brother was?
Oh,
Do we know yet?
We don't, and I think that's the toughest thing. I mean, anytime you're the #1 overall pick in the NFL, that says a lot about your athleticism. And also, obviously, David was one of the best Bulldog quarterbacks in Fresno State history. He just didn't have the team around him. And it was actually profiled over the weekend, and we've talked about it before. You know, Derek now has benefited from his franchise investing in the offensive line, in receivers, to protect him. Now, I know he broke his fibula a game against Indianapolis, yes, and that's just part of the game itself. But he's athletic. He can run more. In fact, I was at training camp in Nampa this past summer, and he says that he's going to try to run a little bit more. Now, not necessarily run the football to always get first downs, but certainly run to create opportunities to throw down the field.
Yeah, and I just wonder, David is a little bit larger in stature, is he not? A little bit. Do we know yet I know it's only his 4th year, but, Derek Carr doesn't see the glass half empty. He sees it as half full, even when he has a broken ankle or a broken leg. And so I guess my question is, I'm just thinking through my head, just as I'm watching the video here, is he a little more fragile maybe than his brother? His brother took one heck of a pounding, of course, in Houston. He ended up with a Super Bowl ring with the Giants. Can he take the pounding of the NFL? He's not a gigantic quarterback, like let's say, what's his name, Luck over in Indianapolis.
Luck or Roethlisberger.
Roethlisberger,
Newton,
anything like that. I mean, it's a rough game. So I don't know if that question can even be answered, but it's just going through my head.
To be fair, the broken ankle for him, it was one of his first major injuries. He really didn't, he did have a back injury in college, but in terms of just the day-to-day, he hasn't been fragile. He's been able to play, and he's able to play well.
And he's positive.
Oh, and he's positive, yeah. And you have to take every situation that's a negative and turn it into a positive. In fact, one of the Q&As I asked was, what is it like now that, because he's not used to being on the sideline, because even from day one as a rookie, he started for the Raiders, and so it gave him a different perspective to not be on the field, to appreciate some of the things that perhaps he took for granted. And so for Derek, and we talk about this about quarterbacks all the time, it's not all about the physical attributes for them. How can they process a defense? Do they know when a blitz is coming? That is sometimes what separates the good quarterbacks from the great quarterbacks, and then some of the Hall of Famers.
And before I get to the call, interesting stuff in the paper that I've read. Matt Schwab, the former Raiders quarterback 4 years ago, I'm sure you read this when Carr got the text message from one of his coaches, thinking he was either going to get cut or maybe traded. Here he's the starting quarterback as a rookie, and then he met Schwab in the locker room after the announcement, and he fully backed Derek Carr. Yeah. It's amazing story. Has he ever told you that story?
He has, and one of the things is, again, when you're asked about how Derek has been able to ascend so quickly because of his work ethic, because of who he is, the leader that he is. Just imagine, John, right? You're going into a locker room of grown men, a lot of the many years your senior, and you're coming in as a rookie in your early 20s, and you're able to be the leader of the team, eventually be called a captain within the first 2 years of being with the organization. It speaks a lot to what the guys and think of Derek and how much they respect him, not only as a football player, but as a man.
And here's what Pat Hill, the former Fresno State football coach, had to say in the paper about Derek Carr just recently here. He said he never made a throw he didn't like. He had a great arm and a great release. And that combination with his attitude, positive attitude, and the fact that we didn't even touch on this, the fact that his teammates like him, respect him, look up to him, and look toward him for leadership. All of those factors combined, it's like baking a cake.
Right.
You have to have all the ingredients.
Yes. One of the first interviews when I profiled Derek and David, when Derek found out that he was going
Hang on, caller, get to you in a moment.
That he was going to be an Oakland Raider, was that, I asked him, what are your expectations? Are you going to win Super Bowls? Because that's what everyone's going to ask. He's like, he said, you know what, whether I bring Super Bowls or not, how many wins and losses I get.
All right.
Sorry, caller. We'll try to call back. He goes, I don't know, but they are going to get, and they by meaning the Raiders and the Raider Nation and everybody, that they're going to get the best effort from Derek. Again, you hear a lot of times with athletes, the process. Always trust the process and the outcome. You can live with the outcome, whether it's wins or losses, but if you're doing things right, you can feel good about it.
All right. Take a break here. 436 Me TV, option 11. Back in just a moment after this from Thomas Casagrande.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Frigidaire Gallery appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy.
Time for that upgrade to an Energy Star qualified French door Frigidaire Gallery refrigerator. Quality appliances for the way you live.
Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting.
Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today. Back here with Tommy Tran, ABC Channel 30. I'm sorry, caller, I let you on hold so long. Call back 436 MeTV option 11. Tommy Tran is here. Roll the videotape. We'll talk over this. No sound. Chase and Virgil, starting quarterback for Fresno State. You know what they did with Incarnate Word, 66-0 over the weekend. Derek Carr had his obviously his number retired at halftime. 39,000 on hand. But I want to get straight to that guy right there. That's highlights from last year, obviously. What did you see out of him on Saturday night, Chase and Virgil, the starting quarterback for Fresno State?
Chase, and what we saw from him on the field was a lot of what we have seen since he's been here at Fresno State. Is you see the physical tools, you see that he can be a starting quarterback for this team, but he left a few throws that I'm sure the head coaches and the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach would like to have back. So he was inaccurate at times, specifically this past weekend against Incarnate Word in the first quarter. He had a couple throws, easy throws that, in my opinion, that he was able to make, and he just wasn't able to make them. So although he didn't throw an interception, he had one touchdown, probably should have had 2 or 3. So that's kind of been the book on him, is a couple missed opportunities in terms of his accuracy, but he has shown that he can play well and lead this team.
All right, got these numbers from the internet. 16 to 29, 246, 1 touchdown. No interceptions on Saturday?
None.
Okay, 55% completion rate. And the running game, 199 yards. Rivers, the running back, he's a freshman, right?
He's a true freshman, a legacy, of course, his father, a great Bulldog. And he has won the starting job at running back over a couple local guys. DeJounte O'Neal and Josh Hokett are a Bullard and Clovish guy. And he played well, especially in his first game.
Caller, you're on with Tommy Tran. Go ahead.
Hi, John. Hi, Tommy. I know you guys are talking mostly football today, and Derek Carr is wonderful for our whole community, country as a whole.
Yeah.
Not to mention the sport of football.
All right.
My question is, Fresno recently acquired a new pro team in our soccer team, and I was wondering if Tommy could talk about a little bit about that, if he's been covering the soccer scene, and maybe what that means for Fresno and our fan base here.
Okay.
That's my question.
Great, thank you. So we got a new soccer team coming up next year. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. But the caller is talking about the excitement and what we can expect. That's the tough thing about Fresno, though, and I'm interested in seeing. When this issue came up, I said, you know what, the pro Fresno soccer team will be a lot like the Fresno State wrestling program. And by what I mean by that is there are a couple of very passionate fan bases here, one being wrestling, the other being soccer.
Okay.
They're very diehard. They support their sports like no other. And so when Joseph Castro, president of Fresno State, first took over, he said, the only thing I kept getting asked, no matter I'm at a farm, out in a rural community, or in town, was when are we bringing wrestling back? And he eventually did. And now we're going to have wrestling coming back next year. The interesting thing, though, is will these small but passionate fan bases translate into butts in the seats? Will people come out and support wrestling like they did before Fresno State lost wrestling? Soccer, same thing. We've had issues with attendance a little bit in the downtown area, whether it's baseball or soccer. Fuego has done very well to build this culture of a passionate fan base that they have. Fuego is sort of this, I would liken it to single A baseball, or obviously they're an amateur team, so the quality's not there, but they do have good fans. We've seen with the Mexican Soccer League exhibition matches that they can pack Chick-Chancey Park, 12,000 plus. It'll be interesting to see with soccer, and they've hired the right people. Frank Gallup is the general manager. He's got ties to the San Jose Earthquakes and MLS, so the credentials are there. You have the backing of a local guy that knows that he wants to bring a pro franchise here. But will they be able to put fans in the seats like they hope they do? That is the biggest question mark facing that franchise.
Yeah, very good knowledge on soccer.
I'm a soccer fan, so it helps out a little bit.
Wow.
But if they can get anywhere close, Sacramento is a good example. Sacramento Republic FC is where Fresno wants to be right now. They've got a stadium, they've got a great fan base, and they pack their stadium.
And let me tell you something, my friends. I'm sitting here. He's got no notes in front of him. There's no teleprompter here. This is off the top of his. He knows this stuff, right? I mean, that's great stuff, Tom.
Well, no, it's great. Well, you follow it every day and you're passionate about it. It's an easy talking point.
I know.
So thank you for that.
I didn't grow up with soccer. I'm more into baseball, football, basketball. But soccer does not come by second nature to me. It's difficult for me to grasp. I never really played the game, although I've watched it. My kids never really played it. But I guess it's going to be a big hit. I don't know. They always draw big in Fresno.
Well, and that's the thing. And you actually bring up a very good point. You know, a lot of people, it's funny, a lot of people, if they have kids too, their kids go through soccer through the early stages, and then it kind of just stops at high school or middle school. I think with a pro soccer franchise, it could have players and young kids wanting to be pro soccer players well beyond when they traditionally stop.
Yeah. All right. I'm determined to get through these videos here with Aaron Judge because we're going to switch topics here. And I do want to put my glasses on. I do want to show a copy of the Fresno Bee from, let's see, what's the date here? Sunday, June 18th. And so on the front page of the sports section, you got three of the biggest superstars in three different sports. You got Aaron Judge, Derek Carr, Paul George. Right there, you remember this article here on the front page.
Sure do.
And it's amazing to see the struggles now of Aaron Judge. Played 2 years at Fresno State, or almost 3 years at Fresno
about
State.
three.
About 3 years. I think the most he ever had was 18 homers. Now I want to lay out the numbers just before we get to this next video, and we're going to play this with sound as well. Prior to the All-Star game, you know what he did during the Home Run Derby. 30 home runs, 66 RBIs, a 329 average prior to the All-Star game. Now he's struggling. Yes, he had a home run last night against the Red Sox. Let's play the videotape, The Struggles of Aaron Judge.
Your hands have to start your swing, not the lower body the other way. He's not completely trusting his load. Run this right now. Watch this go flying out. He's gone right there. There's nothing he's going to be able to handle at 6'7" with all those moving parts. We're going to highlight it right now. But this is a guy that's made adjustments before, because last year he came to the big leagues and he scuffled, punched out almost half the time, and everyone was concerned. So he made the adjustment. He wanted to widen the base, get more on his legs. You see how much different, how much wider he is in 2017. And it led to a huge first half. So let's pause it real quick. So this is me. I'm sitting like right around here. I got perfect view, side angle of him last night. Rafael Montero, by the way, is throwing 96 miles an hour. I didn't even know that. Run his AB. And I want you to focus on this hip. Watch it go. He shouldn't even be offering at these pitches. If he's seeing the ball good and getting in his load, pause it real quick. If he's seeing the ball good and getting in his load, you don't offer at sliders away. You spit on those. So he would be here, he's a little wider, and it would be this take. Right here. Boom. I'm seeing it. You shouldn't be this. This is recipe for disaster.
All right, that was Mark DeRosa, MLB Network, pointing out the struggles of Aaron Judge. I'm going to throw this at you now, Tommy. Since the All-Star break, since they came back for the second half, he's got 8 home runs. He hit one last night against the Red Sox, first time since August the 16th. 19 RBIs, a 177 batting average, 164 at-bats, by the way, only 25 runs, and how many strikeouts? 72. We can dissect this from now until 6 o'clock tonight. We probably won't have the answer as to why. It's just part of baseball?
It's just part of baseball. He's still a rookie, by the way. So people forget that sometimes that he is a rookie. It's just that he happens to play for the Yankees and be in a media market like New York. But he's just kind of going through struggles. And somewhere along the way, especially during the All-Star break, I think someone figured out a way to counter what Judge had been doing. And unfortunately, typically a player it'll take him 2 to 3 weeks to readjust to what the league is doing to him. And I think for Judge, prolonged slump is putting it mildly. He's had to sit out actually a series or two within the last week, but he's just kind of going through those struggle pains. But if you listen to his interviews, he still he has the same process, he has the same mindset, and he's hoping that it'll come back around.
Speaking of which, I went to Oakland prior to the All-Star break, did an interview personally with Aaron Judge. He gave me the time of day. It was he's like Derek Carr.
Yes.
He really is down to earth. All right, let's play the videotape. Humbling experience for Aaron Judge. This was prior to the Oakland A's game back in June.
just in a good position right now. You know, I'm blessed to be on a really good team with a lot of quality guys, you know, so, you know, I don't feel too much pressure. You know, I'm surrounded by so many quality players on and off the field that, you know, they make my job pretty easy to go out there and just have fun.
How do you keep your wits about you? I mean, you're level-headed, you're mature. Your manager says that you remind him of Derek Jeter when he first came up. You kind of have the same quiet demeanor. You just do your job. And for a young guy like you, a rookie, how are you able to do that?
Just my support group, you know, where I came from, my parents, my coaches at Fresno State, all my teammates, my friends, you know, they're always supporting me and pushing me, and you just always got to remember where you came from, and I try to do that every day. It's a blessing getting a chance to come out here on this field, so I just try to remember that every day.
Two more quick things. What can you tell the people of Fresno that are watching right now? Do you have any message for them?
Keep watching, keep supporting. I appreciate everything, and go Bulldogs.
Staying humble is difficult. And that's a one-part question. And then your manager, Joe Girardi, saying that you're able to hit the ball in all fields, including the opposite field like you did last night. Is that the key to success?
Yeah, I'm just trying to do my part on this team, be a consistent part of this lineup, get on base. You know, the guys that got surrounding me and on this team, you know, all I got to do is get on base and good things will happen. You know, I know they'll drive me in, I know they'll score runs, so they make my job easy.
Tommy, before you comment on that, I mean, he's such a humble, down-to-earth guy. I want to play this next interview because in that same game, right after I interviewed him, he struck out 3 times against Oakland. The third time was a called third strike, a fastball right down the middle of the plate. Let's play the interview. Judge, locker room interview, same demeanor. Listen. The 3 strikeouts that you had today, can you describe the pitches at the third strike, especially the third at-bat, the called third strike? You remember? Or?
The last pitch of my last strikeout was a fastball in.
What were you thinking at that point?
Just try to get some of that over the plate. Just got a fastball in there.
Yeah.
It's one of those days.
And how do you come back from that after a day like today?
Just like any other day. Doesn't matter what you did the day before. I could have went 4 for 4. I could go 0 for 4 with 4 Ks. Doesn't matter. You got to go out the next day and get ready prepared just like it's opening day. Like you got no stats, like nothing happened before.
Aaron, on this trip, you guys have lost some players, lost some late games. You guys have played a lot of games in a row. Do you sense that frustration is setting in?
Frustration? Yeah, no one likes to lose. If we're a team, we don't like to lose. We want to go out there and win every game just like everybody else. But it's a long season. You know, we're going to learn from this. You know, we're going to have those times where we get a little skid like this. You know, it happens. We're going to get beat up, but that's the thing I've loved about our team the past couple of games is we're still fighting, we're still battling. You know, so we're going to keep doing that, you know, the rest of the series and take it on home.
Was that Derek Carr I was listening to? That glass is half full.
Must be a Fresno State thing, huh?
Yeah, it really is. Go ahead.
No, we pointed it out, and I think his personality, along with his talent, is perfect for New York because he, for the moment, what we've seen is that he's not going to get a deer in the headlights look in the city of bright lights. The media there can be very tough. I'm sure they have been tough on him during his recent slump where he's hitting under 200. But that's the kind of thing, and especially with baseball, it's the one sport too for 6 months where you're basically playing every day. It's the least amount of days off, you know. So it's more of a mental grind than it is even a physical grind. And when you're going through these highs and lows, you just got to keep an even keel, which we hear from Aaron or Derek. They like to stay right down the middle.
Yeah. Now, before the game, I had a chance to yell out a couple of questions to Joe Girardi, the Yankees manager. He was in the Yankee dugout, and there were about 1,000 reporters after him. So here's this guy from Fresno, John Mallows, in the back there, yelling out the questions with a megaphone. Go ahead and roll. Joe Girardi talking about Aaron Judge. How's he handling the big city of New York, do you think, so far? He's a quiet, reserved kid.
I think he's probably handled about as well as anyone I've ever seen. The attention that he's getting and his focus on the field and his ability to do his work, but his ability to give back to the community, to kids around the country. I think he's handled it really, really well.
Have you ever seen a kid his age with that kind of maturity and wits about him?
Well, yeah, I mean, you have. I don't know, it was a couple of weeks ago, I kind of compared him to Derek a little bit. The way he handles things, the way he does it on the field and off the field. Loves to play, plays hard. very good with handling things off the field and making sure that he's prepared every day. So, I compare him to Derek a little bit.
Is the New York media maybe putting a little too much pressure on him? Do you think glorifying him a little bit?
Hey, it's life in New York. But no, I don't. I mean, I don't see him struggling, so it seems to be working.
Yeah. Couldn't hear the last part of that question in the studio here. They had to shut off the sound, but I asked Girardi about the New York pressure on him, and he said he's handling it fine. He says he's not in a slump, but of course now he is. That interview conducted back in June. So he's, I guess Judge was raised the right way. He's got his head about him. He knows what time of day it is. And not only that, when you get to that level, you really have to have your head on straight or you're going to fail.
Yeah, and it's funny, the sports landscape and how it can be. You would think that someone that would grow up in an urban area or in a big city would be able to handle a place like New York, but I'll put up another analogy too.
Before you go on here, and I want you to continue, but Kerry,
Sure.
before we run out of time, roll a videotape, we'll talk over it. Greeting his fans, Aaron Judge. You'll see on the sidelines here, just right near the Yankee dugout before the game, he's greeting his fans from Linden, a very small town. So go ahead.
Yeah, a small town just east of Stockton. And my point was being actually sometimes you need a small town guy that has values like Aaron does to succeed in a place like New York. A lot like, for instance, a guy like Buster Posey with the Giants coming to New York. He's a southern guy from a smaller part of town. They don't seek some of the things that other players would seek being in a big metropolitan area. So he stays true to his roots. He is who he is, and it just so happens that he plays in the #1 media market in the country.
He just as we look at this video here, and I want to play it out to the bitter end because I want to explain this. He had just come out from the center field area, beyond the center field fence where they had an batting cage under the stands. He had come out, and he's got to get inside, but he's taking the time here to talk to former friends, former coaches that were on the field. Watch it, Tommy, as he toward the end of this video here, a woman comes up near the stands, and he must know her. I didn't ask him, but he gives her a big hug. Just taking the time. This takes time away from preparation, as you know. What does that say about him as a human being?
Well, for Aaron, it just means that he hasn't gotten too big for his head yet. He knows, again, he's talked about it before, he could be in a slump and get sent down to the minors. It could have easily happened. Now, we know that didn't happen because they've invested so much in him. He's an all-star, so they sat him instead. But he just knows that there's no tomorrow, that you're not guaranteed anything, and so he's appreciating it now, and especially when you have an opportunity where some of your hometown friends and family are in town, you got to make time to say hi.
Yeah, he really was raised the right way, of course. He's got step-parents, and they were there, a huge congregation from Linden. I do want to roll the videotape and change topics from one superstar to the next, and I'm talking about Paul George. Roll the videotape. We'll talk over it. He was at the Fresno State football game over the weekend. Did you? And there he is right there. Traded to Oklahoma City, by the way.
Yes.
But he wants to play for the Lakers.
I think ultimately he does, unless he can have a season with Russell Westbrook that will change his mind. But, we talk about the 3 All-Stars or Pro Bowlers at Fresno State features. To this point, he is the most accomplished out of all the 3. He's a multiple-time All-Star.
From Carr and Judge, he's the most accomplished?
I think up so far because, Derek has made the playoffs as a team but hasn't played in a playoff game. And yet we have here Paul George, who's a multiple-time All-Star. He's played for Team USA. He's made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So they're all young, but I think right now if you had to put a peg on terms of most accomplished, PG-13's at the top.
But he's been around longer.
Correct. No,
So-
he has been around a little bit longer, but he's nowhere near the twilight of his career. So
Right.
I don't think when we talk about most accomplished, you want to say by default, yes, but I think so.
30 seconds left. Why was he traded?
That was only someone that the GM can answer out in Indiana because he said he wasn't going to come back to Indiana. He had 1 year left. They had to make a move, and they made a move that they thought was best and traded him to Oklahoma City.
And he's got 1 year left on his contract, so
That's
we'll
it.
see.
And
if
he'll be a
Magic
free
Johnson,
agent.
yeah,
Correct. If
gets
Magic
him.
Johnson can get him to come to LA, and maybe LeBron James will join him as well.
Yeah. Tommy, it's a pleasure seeing you. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day, your morning to come by here. I hope you come back again.
No, I love it, John. Work with Kerry as well. So thank you for having me, and hopefully I can be in the seat again sometime soon.
All right, I'd love to have you next couple of months and maybe come back.
That'd be great.
Great. All right, Tommy Tran, ABC Channel 30. Watch him tonight, 5 and 6 o'clock, right?
Yep, 6 and 11. We'll have
All
it
right,
there.
6 and 11. All right, and don't forget about Friday Night Football. Every Friday night, starting this coming Friday, will be the second installment, starting at 11:15 p.m. that is. See you tomorrow with another edition of Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno. Have a wonderful day.